Some stories fade with time, some horrors become whispers in history, buried beneath the dust of forgotten years. But then, there are those that refuse to die. Stories so drenched in blood, so heavy with unspeakable terror, that they linger like a curse, unseen, unheard, yet never truly gone. This is one of those stories. A tale of 8 people butchered in their sleep, a crime never solved, and a house that has never known peace. Welcome to Villisca, Iowa, a quiet town with a past soaked in fear. A town where, more than a century ago, an unknown figure entered a house in the dead of night and left behind a massacre. Today, that house still stands untouched by time. A house where echoes of the past refuse to be silenced. And if you listen closely, if you dare to enter, you might just hear the voices of those who never left. The town of Villisca, in the summer of 1912, was a picture of peace, a place where everyone knew each other, where doors were left unlocked, children played in the streets until sunset, and the horrors of the outside world felt distant. The Moore family was well respected, known for their kindness, their involvement in the local church, and their seemingly perfect life. But perfect lives have a way of ending in the most brutal ways. On the evening of June 9th, Josiah and Sarah Moore took their 4 children, Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and Paul, to a local church event. 2 young friends, Lena and Ina Stillinger, were invited to stay over for the night. The family walked home under the glow of the moon, their laughter carried by the warm summer breeze. They had no idea they were walking into their own funeral. As the town slept, a shadow crept through Villisca. A figure unknown, unseen. A figure that was already inside the house, waiting. The morning of June 10th, silence clung to the Moore house. Too much silence. The neighbor, Mary Peckham, noticed something was wrong. The curtains were still drawn. No one had come outside. An unease settled in her gut. When knocking on the door brought no response, she pushed it open, and then she screamed. Inside, the walls were drenched in horror. Blood splattered across the ceilings, staining the wooden floors like ink on a cursed manuscript. The Moore family lay in their beds, their faces unrecognizable, crushed by the force of an axe swung over and over again. Even the Stillinger sisters, who had merely been guests, were slaughtered. 8 lives, erased in a single night, and yet there were no signs of forced entry. No one had heard a single sound. How does an entire family get butchered in the dead of night? Without a single scream escaping the walls, the killer didn't just murder. He lingered. Investigators found something chilling. The murderer had covered all the mirrors and windows with cloth, as if afraid to see his own reflection. He had methodically placed a plate of food on the kitchen table but never ate. He had taken the time to light a lamp, remove its chimney, and set it on the floor, casting eerie shadows across the walls. And the worst part, the axe, the very weapon used to obliterate 8 innocent people, was left behind, propped against the wall, its blade soaked in death. Whoever did this wasn't in a rush. Whoever did this wasn't afraid. Whoever did this might have been watching. Despite a massive investigation, dozens of suspects, and years of speculation, no one was ever convicted. The most infamous suspect was Reverend George Kelly, a traveling preacher who had an obsession with young girls and a history of bizarre behavior. He had attended the same church event as the Moore family that night, and later he allegedly confessed to the crime, only to recant his confession. He was tried twice. The first ended in a hung jury. The second, acquitted. Other theories emerged. Some believed it was a vengeful neighbor, others a passing serial killer. But the truth was swallowed by time, and so the house remained, empty, silent, watching. As the years passed, strange stories began to circulate. People who entered the house reported hearing whispers, faint, unintelligible voices carried by the still air. Some swore they saw shadows moving in the corners of their vision. Others felt an unseen presence watching them, breathing down their necks. But it wasn't until the house became a hotspot for paranormal investigators that the true horror revealed itself. In 2014, a ghost hunter named Robert Lawson Jr. decided to spend the night in the Villisca Axe murder house. He came in as a skeptic, determined to prove that ghosts were nothing more than stories. But what happened that night nearly killed him. Just after midnight, Lawson was found lying on the floor of the house with a self-inflicted stab wound to his chest. He had no memory of doing it, no explanation. He only remembered feeling overcome, like something had taken hold of him. When asked what he saw, he could only say one thing: it wasn't alone. Today, the Villisca Axe murder house stands untouched, a museum of terror, a place where time has stood still, where the air feels too heavy, where the silence is too loud. Visitors claim to hear the laughter of children, only to find empty rooms. Others report doors creaking open on their own, cold hands brushing against their skin in the dark. Some believe the spirits of the Moore family remain trapped, forever reliving the night of their deaths. Others say the real horror is something else entirely, something that feeds on fear, something that still lurks in the shadows, waiting for another soul to claim. If you ever find yourself in Villisca, Iowa, staring at the house on the quiet little street, be careful. The walls remember, the shadows whisper, and if you listen closely, too closely, you just might hear the sound of footsteps in the hallway, coming closer, closer, until you realize you are no longer alone.